Welcome to the Sales and Marketing for Decorators podcast with me, John Mears. And once again, I am joined by Dulux Select Decorator of the Year 2016. 18. General all-round podcasting legend. It is Trevor Mangan. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good time, mate. I'm on the non-alcoholic beer tonight.
Well, what's all that about then?
I don't know. If 19-year-old me knew what I was doing now, he would be absolutely ripping into me. What has happened to this loser? Well, I'm trying not to drink.
Yeah.
Trying not to drink as much. And this not a 0% Heineken I found actually tastes quite nice, and it's nice to have a sort of. It almost feels like you're having a beer. So those one or two that are very easy to have on an evening.
Yeah.
Just try swapping them for the non-alcoholics and see how it goes. But
that you just mentioned Heineken. That leads on nicely to today's topic. I went once to price up some work for. I can't remember her name, but she was the Heineken daughter.
Oh yeah.
So
is that why you've got Heineken on your website?
Yeah. So I went there. I can't remember her name. She's the daughter of the Heineken bloke, the father. I went there because they live local to us. Went there to price the outside, and this was true, honest. She didn't want to see any sight lines from inside the house. You were allowed to go 3 mil onto the glass, and that was it. So it was all. So I went around this outside, priced it up, and I sat there on a Saturday afternoon. And my thing is always, it's not your job to set your customer's budget. So basically, whatever you think it's worth is what it's worth to you.
Yeah. So
I'm there, and I went round, and they had outhouses and stable blocks and all this to be done. And I sat there, and it came out about 35 grand. I'm there thinking, bloody hell! I mean, bearing in mind 3 mil on the glass, so you had to take your time. It had to be a good job.
Yeah.
So I thought, right. I gave her name a Google. Turns out, at the time, she was worth about 7.5 billion. So I thought, well, my 35 grand doesn't sort of, fades into any. I thought, I'll put another 3 grand on. I went at 38.
In the time it took you to write that proposal, she
exactly,
38 grand in interest.
But yeah, so it's just, you know what I mean. It's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative. You think, So what's a lot of money to you is probably, it's exactly. I thought, well, it made that quite a lot easier after I found that out. Yeah.
So. That was good. Straight in for us then.
Yeah, see, I've teed you up nicely, haven't I?
Yeah, today's podcast is all about pricing for decorators. Now, obviously, it's a sales and marketing podcast, so I'm going to talk it and put a slant on it at the strategic side of pricing and how to build it into your sales and your marketing plan. But first things first, I think we need to have the chat, which is on all the forums and everything like that. And I wanted to talk to you about it because you've been quite involved in helping people with their pricing recently. And this is how to price the job in the first place. And there are two sort of schools of thought on how to do it. There's two general ways that people come up with when anyone asks for support on pricing. I'll let you elaborate on what those two ways are and what you think is the right way to do it.
Well, I found that most decorators use their years of experience, go into a room, stand there, and then just, that's going to take the ceiling. That'll take me a couple of hours. Walls, that's about 4 hours. Bit of skirting, and it's all very. It's not estimating; it's guesstimating, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just guess what how long it'll take. So that's one way, and then the other way that I prefer is to go in there and just measure it up. Get a laser tape measure and just measure it. A, you look more professional. B, it's just a lot easier to then price from there. I find myself. Mm-hmm. The way I've done it and what I've done for decorators is to make a small spreadsheet where what you do is you actually time yourself, painting the walls, painting ceilings, painting door frames, painting doors, all the sort of bread and butter stuff that you do, even down to wallpapering. Time yourself over 4 or 5 different jobs, and then get your average time, because you're going to work for a customer that likes to have a chat. So if you're rolling a scene and they come in and you're halfway through it and they want to chat, still include that time, because it's a variable that you're gonna, or you might be in might be in a rental property where it's completely empty and you can get on. So you need a good variety of jobs to be able to price yourself and time yourself over, and then just make a note of those times. Get your times per square meter, and then you can put that in the spreadsheet, and it gives you. You're able to go in there, put the size of the room in, and you'll be able to get the time and what material you need for the job. So I just find it's much more accurate. Yeah, accurate. much more repeatable. And also then if you get asked by the customer where you're there to do another room, it's going to be more sort of in line with what you've already priced, because you're going up price a bedroom where you've sort of stood in, and well, why is it £400 more? It's only that, you've got to sort of battle and justify. Whereas if you know your sizes and you know your rates, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah, why do you think? Because I think that is 100% the way you should price. In fact, when I first came into the painting and decorating industry, I read most of Pete Wilkinson's books to sort of get a better idea of what are the struggles for decorators and everything like that, try and understand the market a bit more. And when I was reading his book on pricing, and it talks about obviously pricing in this way, it blew my mind that decorators were working on a walk-in, guess how long it's going to take, charge, times that by a day rate, and add the materials. It blew my mind that was the way people were doing it, because in every other business, in fact, in every other trade, they'll charge you per square meter, or brickies charge per brick, or whatever it is. And in any business I've ever worked in, knowing your cost price is absolutely paramount so that you can then build your profit in and understand your overheads and everything like that. You have to know what your cost price is. And for a decorator, your cost price is how much does it cost me to come out to this job and paint that living room, including all of my time, the admin, the bits of it, the materials, fuel, all the general overheads of just being a decorator. And it seemed that there were so many decks out there that just didn't know what that cost price was. So they were just charging arbitrary amounts and just hoping that they still had some money left at the end of the month, and that was their sort of idea of what was working.
And this is the thing, though. I don't think that decorators do actually stop and think what their overheads are. You talk to them about profit, and they think, they don't think they deserve a profit. They don't think they're worthy of making a profit. You run a business. Every business needs to make a profit to be able to grow. You need that profit. And it's very much that they sort of look around, see what everybody else in the local area is charging, and then charge about the same. And it's not, you don't know what Dave down the road his overheads are, or what he needs to live on. It's like me. I brought up 4 kids, and when I had 4 kids at home, I needed to earn some money to feed them. But now they've all left. My running costs, so to speak, have gone down. I don't need as much money as someone that's bringing up a family. So every individual decorator or tradesman for that fact, their circumstances are different, and you should, your prices should reflect that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of decorators get away with it because they'll just go, right, what's everybody else charging? Maybe it's 120, 150, 160 quid a day, and they go, all right, well, I'll just try and charge about that. And it just so happens that most sole traders, a lot of them, their overheads will be quite similar. And so they'll end up fumbling their way through and sometimes making a profit and getting away with it without putting too much thought into, what are my costs involved here? Have I calculated all this? It just so happens they just copy what everyone else is doing, and it sort of works.
Yeah, but this is what leads me on to another thing. You know, you see it on the Facebook forums every weekend. Who's working the weekend? You know, and they decorators work the weekends because I think they're not too sure if they're earning enough money. If you knew your costs, you'd know that whether you needed to work a weekend or not.
Yeah.
And you need some downtime as well. It's only fair that you actually work out your true costs, I think.
Yeah, the other big thing for me is what do you do? And this is where a lot of the pricing posts come from in the forums. Sometimes it's people just looking for reassurance, but often it's because they're faced with a big job and they've walked in and thought, I can't guess this, or if I guess this wrong, I could massively under or overprice it. And this is where, it's fine if you're doing Mrs. Miggins's front room every week and they're all relatively the same size, but sometimes those bigger jobs will come along, commercial or not. You might just get a job for a massive house, and you're thinking, oh, well, I think this might take about 12 weeks, but if it takes 13 weeks, am I going to lose all my profit? What is my profit? It's like, so if you don't have proper structures and systems in place to work it out accurately, you can get in real trouble.
And also the other benefit of working out your costs properly is when the customer says, you know, I've had a quote for £400 cheaper, can you match it? You'll know whether you can or not. And you can say, I don't know, you know, I can't, I either can or I can't. You'll know exactly how far you can go. And if you can't do it, then you can just say, look, no, the way I work, I can't possibly go or match that. Another little quick one where we're talking about matching quotes is to ask the customer for a copy of the quote you're matching. A, to make sure that they're working to the same spec as you, and B, to see what sort of quote it is. Because I got asked just before Christmas last year to match a quote that was £400 cheaper than me. Mate said, "Yeah, I've got no problem sending you the quote," and he sent me the quote, and it was a screenshot of a text. Decorator text it. I said, "Well, if you want to, you know," I said, "I'm not matching that." I said, "It's ridiculous. 400. No wonder he's £400 cheaper. He's done, you know, he's done £600 less worth of work on the quote." I said, "It's ridiculous." I said, "How can you compare?" You know, I mean, I do take pride in my quotes, and I do go into a lot of detail. A, because it covers my arse, and B, you look professional. And you know, I wouldn't dream of sending someone a quote. I said, you're getting a 2-year guarantee. I said, and you know, I said, I'm bringing packing boxes to put your stuff in. I said, and you want me to be £400 cheaper than a text? And then so when you sort of sat down and explained, oh yeah, I can see. I said, but you're more than welcome to go with him. I said, absolutely. If that's what he thinks is, you know, acceptable, then fine. You know, just go with him.
Absolutely bang on. So why do you think decorators shy away from this way of pricing? Is it they don't want to get involved with the numbers? Is it just the sort of almost, maybe not lazy, but sort of, well, it's been working for all this time, why not just stick with it? Do you think that's more what it is, rather than? I think
a few decorators are sort of stuck in their ways and they don't like change a lot of us.
Yeah.
And then some of them aren't actually that technically, you know, computer literate. And honestly, I think no one's actually taken the time to tell them there's a better way or an easier way, or maybe just give it a go and see if it works out for you. It makes your quoting so much quicker, and it, you know. And you can stand there with confidence, you know, because you know that you're basing it on proper rates and times, that you'll know. You haven't got that worry of thinking, oh my God, have I priced it right? You'll know that, you know, it takes you, you know, half an hour to do 20 square meters of ceiling. Then you'll know, you know, you can't go, you really can't. There's no room for doubt or error. Unless something really goes wrong.
I think it's one of those things. It's very easy for a decorator to. So they'll come through like an apprenticeship. That's the word. System. Yeah. They'll come through that, and that is, they'll be on the brush. They turn up when they're told to turn up. They get paid. job done. They don't really have to worry about overheads. They probably get picked up in the van on the way to work. So you earn your cash, and then there is a point when obviously a lot of decorators will transition into owning the business, but nobody sort of explains the rules and go, oh, by the way, now you own the business, all the overheads are on you as well. So you need to take into account van costs, mobile phone, whatever, everything that goes into running a decorating business. It's, you're not just turning up and painting anymore. You've got other costs, but nobody sort of explains that, do they?
And I think a lot of decorators don't actually see that they're running their own businesses. They see that they're just a decorator working for customers. They don't actually see that it's their business and they're responsible for generating their own income, and they could possibly charge more. They just see, oh well, I'm now not working for Joe Bloggs Builders. I'm now working for myself with customers. You need to actually get a little bit of a different mindset and think, right, this is my business. I need to, start charging a profit or making a profit. It's just a different way of thinking. That's all. And it's like I say, it's not their fault, because no one, you're not told this sort of stuff. You just sort of, you either stop and think about it, or you just sort of carry on and think, well, that's what everybody else is doing. Let's do the same. So it's not.
There's something called Parkinsons Law, which I wrote a blog on once, and I looked into it quite a lot at the time. So Parkinson's Law basically says work expands to fill the time allotted. So
I was talking to a customer about this the other day, and I couldn't remember what it's called. That's why I wrote it down.
So if you say a job's going to take 4 days, you'll complete it in 4 days. If you say it's going to take 3 days, you'd probably be able to do that same job in 3 days. If 5, whatever you say the job's going to take, you'll just naturally, subconsciously work at a pace so that you finish it in that time. And this is one of the big problems with pricing, not pricing by the meter. That firstly, I mean, there's no reason for you to work any faster. There's no benefit for you to complete jobs quicker, because you think that you've got to be on the job for 4 days to show the customer they're getting their money's worth. But you can quite quickly get into a routine where painting a front room does take you 5 days, and you just start working it like that, when really, if you worked harder and faster, could you do it in 3 days? Could you do it in 4 days? Whatever.
Well, if you could do that in 4 days, that's an extra week over a month. Basically, you're saving. If you could do it in 4 days, there's an extra lounge there you could do, or front room in there. Exactly. So and if you're charging £800, £600, there's an extra week's money you could make just by getting it down to a decent time.
And when you've built in all that time, there's no reason for you to go, when it gets to 4 o'clock at night, you've finished all your prep or whatever, there's no incentive for you to go, let's quickly get this first coat on now. You just go, nah, I'm ahead of schedule, I'll put the first coat on tomorrow as I planned. And then you just keep working at that pace, and it will fill up 5 days of work, and you'll finish at 12 o'clock on a Friday.
Like just to prove yourself right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how good I am. I've got it right. Yeah,
got it right. And it's just, I do find it funny that all decorators are flat out, but a lot of decorators manage to finish at midday on a Friday. But you're right. If you start pricing it differently, you'll start finding more time in your week, and that's time that you might be able to go and do a quick feature wall or something like that, or like you say, it will add up over a month. You might get another week of work out of it. That could be another couple of grand.
Or what I'm a big fan of is maybe you'll get that day back to actually then work on your business and start marketing and being able to market to better customers with the day extra that you've made. It's people, and that's another thing with decorators. They think as long as they've got a brush, a roller, or a spray gun in their hand and they're putting paint on walls, they're making money. But you still got to grow your business, and you still got to find customers, and there's a lot more to run a decorating business than actually just putting paint on the wall.
100% agree. All right, well, I think we've probably upset enough people?
Well, I wouldn't say we've upset them. I don't. We've made them think a little bit, and look at things a little bit.
Decorators screaming at it, just saying, "I work flat out all the time. There's no way I could do my job any quicker." But it's just one of the things you will feel like. Yeah, you will feel like you're flat out. That's how it works. All too often, I've seen it in any work environment I've been. Everybody is flat out busy, but then 6 months later, they've had all these extra job responsibilities put onto them, and they're still exactly the same amount of busy, but they're delivering more work. So no matter how much work you're delivering, you'll feel like you're busy. It's just how it is. That's part of Parkinson's Law. But okay, so let's talk more about. Now we've talked about how to price things up. Let's talk more about strategic pricing and how you can move that into your sales and marketing to help your business overall. So one of the first things is, I always say there is no strategic advantage being the second cheapest person or the second cheapest decorator in town. So unless you're 100% set on, I will be the cheapest decorator in my local area and I will beat any quote, then there's no point trying to even compete with it. And the reason for that is, if you're pricing it really, really low, unless you are the cheapest, you're not going to get it. If you're only a little bit more expensive, you won't get it, but also you're not charging enough more to be able to deliver a better service or a markedly better service. So I think if someone's charging 100 quid a day, you're as well trying to pitch against it at 200 quid a day, because at least at 200 quid a day, you can say, right, here's all the extra benefits you're going to get from picking me. Yes, I'm more expensive, but because I'm more expensive, I can afford to use better materials, better equipment. I can spend longer on prep and things like that. And at least you've got some ways to sell it and market yourself. Whereas if someone's charging 100 quid a day and you come in at 110, well, what else can you do that they're not going to do?
Yeah.
You're probably on the more higher end of
I'm definitely the higher end. But what I've tried recently with a few customers, and it's working quite well, is to give them a choice of three prices.
Yeah.
So like a bronze, a silver, and a gold. I don't call it that, but then basically they're getting three quotes in one.
Yeah.
So I start off with I call it the sort of like the rental redeck or whatever. So if you're trying to just do your house up to sell it, we'll come in. We'll do a bit of minimal filling. We'll give it a sand down with a sanding pole, good old 80s sanding pole. Nice. It's a little scuff of the thing, just really a tart up, just to make it nice to sell. So that'll be the cheapest. Then the middle one will be sort of like the dustless sander, and the sort of like this. The middle one is really the one you want to sell. Yeah. In my eyes, so that's that's really the one that you want to make the most money on. And then the top end is exactly everything the middle one is, but then I add in, this will get people shouting. I add in an hour's colour consultation, where you put on your frilly cuffs and collars and do a bit of a Lawrence Llewellyn, go around there separately from the quote and sit down, and I can hear them shouting now. Yeah. But it's all right, because this is not the one you want to sell. You don't want it. You make you make this one quite a lot more than the middle one. Yeah. But so if you do get it, it's worth putting on your frilly shirt and your flipping, your shoes with flowers in them to go around there and do it. So yeah, I add in a colour consultation. They might even get a mood board. I think I've added that. But just all the fluffy sort of interior designy bit. And
like you say, that is you offer that for a few £100 more or something.
Yeah,
and it's one of those, you don't really want to sell it, but if someone is silly enough to go, yeah, all right, I'll pay £300 for him to come round and talk colours with me, then fine, all right, why not? That's more than worth your time doing it. But most people will look at it and go, Now we're fine picking our own colours. Let's go for the middle one. That's a bargain because
Yeah.
you're conditioning them to showing them a really high price. It then suddenly makes your lower prices seem a lot more attractive.
And there's another phenomenon. We're talking about phenomenons like Parkinson's Law that I've written down. So,
Nice.
is that people out of habit will always go for the middle price. This is why you get people on the motorway that will stick in the middle lane. So if you've got 3 lanes, it's a fact that that's why they stay in the middle lane, because they're more comfortable being in the middle. Not that they're being idiots, well, they are idiots, but that's why they're just more comfortable being out of the choice of 3. They'll all, the majority of people will go for the middle quote. So, or the middle of the 3.
There's loads of benefits to. And it's great to hear that you are offering 3 prices and it's working, because it's something that I thought the industry could do with for a while. A lot of the pushback will be decorators only like to work at 1 speed, and that is full, perfect quality. Got to protect my reputation.
But this is exactly what Ryan and I have talked about on the podcast. Is really you've set your own. You've got your own standard in your own mind. But is your standard? I've spoke to you about it before as well. Is your standard above what a customer's expecting? Could you get away with working to 50% and still getting paid and getting the job done quicker? It's the standards you set yourself that are. It's very difficult to sort of judge where the customer is and what the customer expects. Sorry, John, I did interrupt you there, but I was a bit passionate about that.
No, it's good. I think. There's 2 things. So, firstly, I think your basic service, the tart it up for rent or sell it or whatever.
Yeah.
You're still offering a service where you're not going to walk away from that job thinking this is going to damage my reputation. You're still doing it to a standard that is good, and you're happy to put your name to, because you do want to look after your reputation.
But you've set the customer's expectations there. That
exactly.
You'll get.
It's like in anything you do, people love to have the choice of price. I mean, one thing that it's really good for is if you give a customer 3 quotes, 3 prices, they're less likely to go and get quotes from other people because you've already given them 3 prices.
Yeah.
People just like to see a sort of range. And there's so many things. The one that always springs to mind with me is whenever you're picking wine off a list at a restaurant, you don't go for the cheapest one, you go for the second cheapest one. You never go for the really expensive one. The second cheapest one, and that is the bottle of wine where the restaurant makes the most money. They put the most profit on the second cheapest one because everyone likes to go for that one.
Exactly.
It's the same with so many things. People love to go for that middle option. So it really works. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about, actually, and I haven't given you a heads up on this, so it'd be good to see what you think about it.
Oh, cheers, John.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. So I think there is a massive market out there for, and I would call it painting rather than decorating. So I think a lot of decorators, they work in a very similar way, as in they put a lot of emphasis on the quality and the skill involved and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there is a market for that, clearly, because a lot of people are operating in it. And people only tend to differentiate themselves in getting even better at decorating and even higher, more skilled at it. Now, I think there's a huge untapped market for people that don't want you to spend a day filling and stuff like that. They just literally want you to paint their wall a different color, and they want you to do it because it's easier than them doing it. So I guess you probably don't do much work for people in their 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s. A lot of decorators, they'll find their work is people that have got a lot of money or are elderly and can't do it themselves. There are a lot of people in their 20s and things like that. They're buying their first home. They go in, and then a few weeks before they move in, they go, it'd be really nice if a decorator could come here and just blitz it out into a different colour for me. But no decorator wants to do that because they don't want to just paint and just slap paint on the walls. But I think there are so many people that if you can paint the wall a different colour and not get any of it on the light switches or the coving, then that is all they want, and they would be very happy with that. And I think this is something that you could do. You could really bring your costs as a decorator down, because you're not going to need sanding equipment. You're not going to be spending time filling. It'll literally be you're almost doing a DIY job, but you're doing it better, faster. You're cutting in properly, and you could be pricing this off photos and virtual consultations and stuff, so you could avoid having to go around. Because obviously, one of the big things when you're decorating, you want to go and visit the job, because you want to look how much repair work's got to be done, how much of this, how much of that. If you literally just go, send me a picture of your living room and measure it up and tell me how big it is in measurements, and I'll go, right, 2 coats is this much, and depending on what color you want, if you need a 3rd coat, it's going to cost you X amount of money. And you just go, right, I'll paint this and I'll do 2 coats as required. If it's not covered in 2, I'm happy to walk out. Or you can pay me to put a 3rd coat on, or whatever. Just offer a very basic service, as in, I'll paint this. I won't get money on you. I won't get paid for your fittings, and away you go.
I think that's a good idea. But again, isn't it? It's the customer, the decorator rather, setting the standard, thinking that, and it's rightly so, because you've got pride in your work. But sometimes you've got to work a little bit differently to win the work. And think a little, and that's why this free option quote thing is working out quite well. It's definitely been well received by my customers anyway, because if you can do that. And also another thing that I find difficult is, or have in the past, is getting the customer's expectations. You send one quote, well, what am I getting for my money? What are you doing? And if you send 3 quotes and you can say, look, that's what you're getting. They can actually see what they're getting for their money, and they know, oh, well, it's not going to, I'm going to do minimal filling, minimal sanding, but I'm going to change the color, a bit like you said, change the color. Well, if you want, if you've got a rent or you're moving out, you want to sell the place, or like you say, or if you're moving in and you just want it, done for when you move in. So
just think. So let's go standard sized living room or standard sized bedroom or something like that. Let's say a typical living room. How many days is that? How many days do you usually price that to do? Do you have like a day of prep, 2 days?
Yeah, it's probably 2 or 3 in it, depending on what they've got to be done. Normally, normally 2 or 3.
2 or 3. But if I said to you, could you just go into that living room and just put 2 coats on it, 2 coats on all the walls and 1 coat on the ceiling?
Yeah.
How quick could you do that? You do it in the morning?
Yeah, you'd probably get it done. Yeah, you get it done in a day easily. It'd be a day,
easily done in a day. So it feels like there's just got to be a market for someone there who doesn't look at themselves as I'm a first class high quality decorator. I'm a painter, and I'm a better option than doing it yourself, and I'm not that much more expensive.
And also, if you've got a small business where you've got a few blokes on, if you've got a youngster or a nipper, it's ideal for them as well, isn't it? To get them in there, because when I was started out, I wasn't allowed to do glossing for flipping, a good 12 months. I wouldn't let you near gloss.
Yeah.
So if it's a good way to get a nipper in there and get him used to emulsioning.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea. It's a good a good way to get them into the emulsion and get their speed up.
Yeah, you just think there's got to be so many people out there. Like, for years it was always, if my gran or my auntie or anyone wanted some decorating done, I'm the mug that gets the first phone call. It's you've done some decorating before. I'm like, well, not really, but okay, all right. And you do it, and every time your mates move house when you're in your 20s and stuff, there's bloody 5 of you come around, you get paid in beer and pizza, and you make a big hash of it. It never looks very good, and you just think, do you know what? Could a decorator come in and I'll pay them 200 quid and they're in and out in a day, plus materials or whatever.
I'll tell you where else you could go as well. There's a market screaming out for it. Just go around the local estate agents.
Yeah.
Because they know a few leaflets, get a few leaflets printed up. They've got people buying houses all the time.
Well, do you know what? You can, and painting rentals. It's basically, I'm saying do rental bashing for just everyone. There's a guy that works for my local estate agents. My dad knows him, and he gets paid just to put 3 coats on. They don't care what paint goes on there or anything like that. You just say literally between tenants, you've got to go in there and you've got to put white paint on every wall, 3 coats, please. And he just does it part-time and as something else on the side. And as long as he doesn't get it on the light switches and cuts in reasonably nicely, they don't care about anything else. They just want to freshen it up, and he'll easily clear a couple £100 a day, no problem, because he's doing. Well, he's doing a house every 3 days.
Imagine if the estate agent showman, a new couple, like you say, a young couple house. Oh well, the walls could do. Oh yeah, well Trev, he'll come in, he'll get it sorted out. He'll do the walls. He's just quite happy to do the walls for you, just to give you a colour. It actually help the estate agent sell the property to the people interested, because that's another solution solved. Yeah, and
you just become the fastest painter in the West, and you just say, right, what do you want to do? Do you want to go and buy a load of dust sheets for yourself, or use all your old bloody bed linen or whatever? Then you're going to have to buy tape because you can't cut in freehand. You've then got to find out what paint's what. You've got to drive to the decorators merchant and everything like that. Do you want all of that hassle, or do you want Trev to come in, who knows exactly what he's doing? He'll paint that living room in half a day, probably. It'll be in and out, done, and it will be a better job than you could have done yourself. And to be honest, by the time you've bought all the brushes and rollers and paint and stuff you needed, it's not that much more expensive to get him to do it.
And if the place is empty, you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah.
I reckon that's a good little business model, to be honest. And all you've got to do is get dressed up smart one day and go in and chat to. I mean, maybe not now, but in a few months' time when you can go in there and it's not you're not got a mask on, which sort of gives you, it sort of puts boundaries up, doesn't it? You can't actually do your sales too easily with a bloody mask on. But 2 or 3 months' time, get a folder made up and go in there and say, look, you're quite happy to change people, and then explain how it will benefit the estate agent by they'll be able to push that you could get it painted before they can move in. If you that's the thing I found with sales, and we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, but the thing is with sales I found is just make it easy for the customer. Show the customer what's in it for them. Don't worry about you selling your things. It's just whatever makes it easy for the customer. If it, find out what their problem is and make it easy to solve their problem. That's what I've found.
And then I think if we go back to the ways to price things, like we were talking earlier, if you've got your price per square meter nailed down as Trev, the fastest decorator in the West.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you're selling this to me already. I'm doing this tomorrow because, like you say,
you could literally put this pricing on your website, and you could market that as, and it's just a spreadsheet formula. You could put it on your website and go, right, it's a minimum call out of 120 quid or something like that. That's your minimum order of value, whatever, that's going to cover your costs for a day, 120, 150 quid or whatever. And then you can put on, and then I charge £5 per square meter. So measure up your square meters, and then you just say, look, if there's a window on the wall, then that doesn't affect the price because it will take me longer to cut in, but it's not as big an area, whatever you get your pricing to. And then anyone can go onto your website, measure their skirting boards, measure their walls, and go, well, I could get Trev in, and it says here, according to his calculator, he could paint that room for 200 quid, and it would take him 8 hours. Because you'll be able to, that calculator will tell you how much it's going to cost, and how long it takes you because you've put your times in there.
Admittedly, you're going to have to put a little clause in that say, based on no excessive filling and all that, because you will get that, won't you? There'll be, as long as there's no big holes to be filled, and you just have to be a little bit careful, make sure you got the word in there. But like you say, you could actually give those costs to the estate agent. The estate agent could tell the couple what it's going to cost them. You wouldn't, if you don't want to put it on your website. Give your pricing spreadsheet to an estate agent. They could go, oh yes, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, right, you bought this house. There are 200 square meters of walls in this house. We know that. Let me just bang this into Trev's spreadsheet. Well, if you want a decorator to come around and paint it, it will take him 21 hours of painting, and it will cost you this much money. and just tell the estate agent to put another 10% on for themselves. Add 10% on, and that could be your commission, because you've got to make it worth. I know it's a bit shitty, but again, what's in it for them? If the estate agent is not going to get anything out of it, then why would they push your product? But if they're going to get 10% for passing on, as long as they've added on the 10%, you can say, well, there you go. End of each month, there's £300 for you or whatever. And
you know what? I think a lot of decorators, obviously, they take a lot of pride in their work. One, because obviously,
and rightly so,
they want to do it, and 100% rightly so. But I think the other thing is, I reckon if you look at it, I reckon you could do this fastest painting as you can, and you would still get a lot of recommendations. You might not get all the recommendations as, oh my God, it's absolutely flawless preparation and painting and stuff, but you'll get different recommendations. You'll go, he came in and he painted our whole house 2 weeks before we moved in, absolute lifesaver. Or if you want clear, transparent, upfront pricing and great service, I mean, if you look at maybe all the reviews you've got on your Google or whatever, what would you say? How many are saying the finish was flawless, and how many are saying he's just a really polite, nice guy, easy to deal with? And they took a lot. I think a lot of people recommend you for your service, not necessarily the outstanding quality of the finish you're delivering. Do you agree with that, or maybe not?
I know. I think Ryan and I have spoke about this before, and I don't think there's a few customers out there, but the majority of customers wouldn't know a decent paint job if they saw it. I really don't honestly believe that, because Ryan and I were doing a charity job a while ago, and there was a load of volunteers come in, and there was bare pine timber, and all they did was come in and gloss the bare pine. There was runs, and the people, and now I don't know whether the woman that was running it was saying it to be polite, but she was more than happy. They've done a great job, and it was absolutely. With Ryan and I, spent a day murking all this gloss back to bare wood to then knot it, prime it, and do it, because my van had been there, and I said, Ryan, I can't be seen. If people come in and see this, they're not going to know we didn't do this.
I would say probably 80% of the general public probably don't know about what knots are and why knots start coming through. And I think a lot of people have probably got woodwork with knot stains coming through, and they just they don't know what's causing it, or don't even care about it, don't see it, don't notice it.
Yeah, exactly. Do they even notice it? That's the thing, isn't it? It's
the decorating in my house is awful. I haven't done it. It was just like this when I got here. But to be honest, I don't look at it as much, and I look at decorating a lot because I'm in the industry. But I think most people, I mean, I'm looking at the sort of cutting in around door frame in front of me now is horrific. It's all over the place, but it's not terrible. And there's a little bit on the light switch over there. But I think a lot of people's houses are like this. I think a good decorator could, I think most people would be happy with, like you said, there's no runs on the radiator or on the woodwork or whatever. There's no runs, and you've cut in quite nicely.
I think most decent decorators could get away with working to like between 50 and 75% of the standard they do now. They could actually get away with actually not, and still have a decent reputation, and still have pride in their work.
Yeah, you're delivering a Rolls Royce job every single time, when most people would just be happy if you just give them a Ford Focus and did it.
No, actually, exactly. No, you're right, exactly. And again, this is where this free price quote thing comes in, because, like I say, you'll find you're getting their level. You're finding out where exactly they are, whether they are a Ford Focus or a Mercedes or a Rolls Royce. You can, you get an idea of where they're at.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's we got quite into that. I think we might let it breathe a little bit there, as you say on your podcast. Let the podcast breathe a bit.
Just let it breathe a bit. Yeah, that's what you need to do. Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. Blimey, this is we're going on a bit on this one, but I like this topic. I think people are going to be liking this. So the next bit I want to talk about is, what do you do about passing your savings on? You're buying stuff at trade prices. Let's start with you personally, What do you save on trade
No.
prices? Probably 10-20%. Do you pass that on to the homeowner?
No, that's mine. That's my bonus for running round, getting there. You know, I fight hard for my prices. I battle with the bloody merchants to get it down. You know, and I don't pass that on easily. I mean, if there's a like a nice customer or an old lady or something that I feel deserves it, then I will. But generally, I don't know. I generally sort of keep that to myself and let them, and they pay, you know, the retail price.
Do you not tell them about it?
No, not really. I sort of.
See, I saw something in a different industry, but similar sort of thing. Basically, the guy puts it nice and clear as he's talking to you and on his quotes and stuff like that. He will say, right, I will buy the materials, and he'll say up front, I get a 10% trade discount. I'm not going to pass on that trade discount to you. I'm keeping that 10% because that covers for things such as if it turns up it's the wrong colour, I got to go and change it. Yeah. I've got the fuel of actually going to get it if you're going to get it. If we run out and we need to go and buy some extra, all the sort of bits and bobs, stuff that can go wrong, the wrong stuff turning up on the delivery, chasing suppliers round on the phone and things like that. You just say, right, basically, I'm keeping the 10% saving for myself, and it covers those admin costs essentially. And every customer he gets, he's just like, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Thank you for being honest and transparent.
And also, that opens their eyes to all the other things that goes on. You know, it's not a case of going to B&Q and getting a tin of paint and coming back. There are other things that can go wrong. Yeah. That's quite good. I like that.
In fact, I had the guy that did my fence said exactly the same thing. He said, this is what it costs, and I get, I think he got like a 15% trade discount. But he said, I'm going to keep that because chances are there's 200 boards are going to turn up. He said probably 10, 15, 20 of them are no good, warped, or going to be no good and stuff. So I'm going to have to arrange to get them collected, or I'm going to have to go and get some more. And then there's a bit of travelling, there's time lost and stuff like that. I said, yeah, absolutely, mate, keep you. And but I think it was nice because he told me clean and upfront, this is what I'm doing. There was no, not hiding it at all. And I was,
no, I like that.
Look, if I was going to go and buy it myself, I'm going to pay that anyway.
And if people do argue about that and it's on your quote, then do you want to work for that person anyway?
Yeah, and you at that point you could just say, all right, but if all the boards for the fence turn up and 10 can't be used, it's on you to go and get those. You'll have to go and negotiate it. You'll have to sort it out with a supplier.
Yeah.
And have that headache and everything like that, and you'll have to run to and from, or you just let me do it, and I'm just going to keep the 10% saving, which you wouldn't see anyway, because you haven't got a trade account.
No, that's right. I think that's a good idea. I like that idea.
You can start doing that now. Then.
Yeah, I think that's good. Well, it is, and it's quite ballsy as well, isn't it? I like that.
I think it sets a nice tone as well. Because you're being that clear and that transparent on everything, then it'll make the customer go, oh, but this guy's clearly not hiding anything from me, and I think it'll let them relax a little bit, because that might be a concern. People always think, oh, are they ripping me off? Are they adding money onto the materials and stuff like that? You just tell them straight exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Most people won't argue.
I'll tell you another one that works quite well as well. I don't know. Well, I mean, he told me it worked well. I don't know whether it does or not. Is that what he does is he'll supply a quote, labour only, but then tell them what materials they need. Then they can go and use his trade, not account, but cash card. So they'll get the trade discount through his cash card. They'll pay for the materials cash. So initially when they get the quote, he looks a lot cheaper because he's labour only. And then what he said is they then go and get the materials, and then it goes on. He said then sometimes I do work out more expensive than other quotes. He said, but by that time it's they've already decided to go with me, which I think and the other thing with that then is you've got to find a way then of adding your sundries as well, haven't you? Because you've got white spirit, sandpaper, putty, fillers, all that sort of thing that goes. And people when you talk about materials, people tend to think it's all the paints, isn't it? It's not all the other bits that go to it. So so I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's a viable option or not.
I think that's an idea that I think some people will like, because you've got the advantage of when you're putting your quote in, you do seem a bit cheaper, so you might get those extra few jobs. Because
I'm quite convinced that all people ever see is the bottom line. That's as soon as they get they're there to the back page. What's the price? It doesn't matter what they're getting for their price. They just see the price.
Yeah, the thing you've got to struggle with is as long as you don't want the customer turning up at the trade counter and going, "Oh, this cheap stuff. This stuff's on offer. Oh, let's not buy the Benjamin Moore. Let's buy this Dulux instead, and we'll save another 300 quid there."
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, hang on a minute."
Yeah, this. I think they were quite specific over what paint needed to be ordered, and this is another one. When I go and see a customer, when they say, "I will supply the paint," every time they say that, I still include the paint in the quote, because if it goes wrong, I don't want to have to have that conversation with you said you were going to buy the paint. I'd just rather go out and just buy the paint and know that it's included in the price. Again, do you really want to work for those sort of customers that think that? So I think by including the price of the paint, it's not going to really sort of make a big difference between me getting the job and not. And I don't really want, if I get it, it's worth it. It's worth my while. And if I don't, then I don't really mind too much, to be honest.
I tell you what, I just thought of from a purely quite a selfish point of view, from a paint manufacturing point of view. If every decorator starts deciding, right, I'm not going to pass on my trade discounts, I'm going to keep the 10%, then they might start seeing that there's the more expensive paint they buy, the bigger that 10% is. So it's a nice little revenue stream for them. I don't know what you think. A daily battle, and I've spoken to a few people on this, is when decorators talk about the rising costs of paint and stuff like that, and you go, who pays for the paint? It's the homeowner, isn't it? Yeah, the homeowner.
Yeah. Basically, it's nothing to do with you, is it?
Yeah,
You're just the
middleman. The decorator's the middleman, but at the end of the day, you're not actually buying the paint. The homeowner is. So the cost of it is irrelevant. So you may as well try and get every customer to buy Benjamin Moore, because it makes your job easier, and you're not paying for it anyway. Having a 500 quid paint bill at the end of the month because you've bought loads of expensive paint. Well, that's not a concern for you, because you're not the one that's actually spent that money. It's customers' money. I think that might have to be a different podcast, though. No one's listening at this point, so we shouldn't get too many complaints. Right, Trev, anything else to add?
No, I think that's it, really. I think that's it.
The final verdict: stop guessing. Start pricing by the meter, essential if you want to grow and scale your business. Giving 3 options when you're pricing, loads of advantages to that. Don't pass on your savings on your trade prices, but be clear on it and tell people why you're doing it.
I think so.
That's good. I think we've done all right there. And then maybe I'm going to set up a business for you where I'll start marketing as Trev, the fastest painter in the West. For new
people moving house. I think that's a good
house. Rentals. People that it's just easier to hire someone to do it quickly than to have to bother doing it yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a good little. I think there's a little niche there. Definitely.
Go in, 2 coats, job done. And we see only same as a lot of commercial painting and stuff like that. They just paint to the spec, don't they?
Yeah.
And you get apprentices on, however much apprentices are nowadays, which is not a lot. And you just say, right, Ben, whatever, that's the first name I thought of. You go, right, go in that room, put 2 coats of white on the ceiling, 2 coats of white on the walls, and then just do exactly that. And don't worry. You
could even. We're going on about it, but you could even put like a minimum of 3 rooms so that you've got the drying times to move between the 3. Otherwise, we sat there twiddling your thumbs on your phone waiting for paint to dry, which is So yeah.
I'll tell you what might be a sign that things might end up moving that way is I spoke to a college maybe 12 months ago now, because we've been in lockdown. Before lockdown, I spoke to a college, and prep is not on the curriculum there anymore. They do not teach you how to fill or sand down or anything like that. Prep was not part of the paint and decorating course anymore. It was just painting and hanging wallpaper.
But prep is like the most important part of the job.
To most decorators, yeah. But if you want to go out and you want to be a painter and paint fast and maybe look at a different model of paint and decorating, so it might be.
That's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah. When he told me, I was like, "What?" I mean, the tutor, lecturer, whatever they call it, yeah, he was annoyed about it because he was just like, this was a 3-year course and used to be bloody half of it was on preparation and stuff like that, but now it's literally they're taking kids and just saying, right, this is how you paint, cut in, sign writing.
So who does all the prep then?
Just don't do prep, and literally just like we were saying, I think there is a big market for painting without doing the prep, and just doing a. But
it's still something you need to know, DIY. Surely.
I think so. Yeah. Perhaps they'll learn more about that on the actual when they're out working.
But that's sort of putting the cart before the horse, isn't it?
Yeah.
You need to know. Wow.
But yeah, prep wasn't on the course at all. It was just here's how you paint, here's how you cut in, here's how you hang wallpaper.
That is ridiculous.
So maybe there will come a point where the people that do the prep will be in short supply, so they will learn a lot more. That'll be quite a specialist thing. Otherwise,
I just feel that's really unfair on the kids. Mm-hmm. That's it's just putting them at such a disadvantage.
Yeah. Well, is it? They might end up getting a lot more work and making more money because they're getting through the work faster. They might be doing two living rooms a day.
Yeah, but it might be shit.
It might be shit, but if they're still getting paid, they might be charging 150 quid a living room and doing 2 a day. Earning more than a decorator who's doing a good job. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the way things are, you're probably right, to be honest.
Oh, dear.
Right.
Never know. Trev, you very kindly given away your spreadsheet that you use for pricing, so that people
exactly
way of pricing. Where can they go and get that?
So if you'd like to get hold of it, if you come and join my Facebook group, Owning the Decorating Business, I'll let you in, and there should be, if you trawl through there should be a little link that tells you how to get hold of it. So if not, when you join, message me and I'll send you the link. That would be the easiest way. Owning the Decorating Business on Facebook.
Right. Perfect. 2 Decks 1 Mic. That's still doing
the podcast.
Nicely.
Yeah, we're still
You're doing the was it Pod Fan or something like that now?
Yeah, we're doing a Patreon now for Yeah, we've started that, so that's going quite well. So yeah, it's all quite positive, really.
Good. I need to sign up for that actually. I haven't.
Yeah. I did notice you weren't on there. Your name had a black mark against it.
Oh, John Mears, mate. I'll be paying for that because I need something to listen to tomorrow. Right, perfect. Thank you.
Lovely.
If anyone else wants more from me, go to my website, jmears.co.uk/ebook. While I'm here, I should probably shout out Ryan because he shouts me out on your podcast every week. Follow Ryan at S&D_decorating on Instagram. There you go, Ryan. Thanks everyone for listening. Goodbye.
Cheers. Take care. Cheers.